Welcome back to the Vue 3 Beginner tutorial series. In the previous episode, we learned how computed properties help us derive reactive values without repeating logic. Today, we're going to learn another essential Vue feature, conditional rendering. You'll discover how to show or hide elements based on your application state using directives like vif, velsif, velse, and vshow. In real applications, users don't always see the same interface. Some content should only appear after logging in. Error messages should only appear when something goes wrong. Loading indicators should only appear while data is being fetched. This is exactly what conditional rendering solves. Vue allows us to display different parts of the template depending on reactive data. Now that we understand what conditional rendering is, let's see it in action. Before we start, let's create a simple reactive variable that will control whether the user is logged in or not. Now let's use that variable with the vif directive. Vue evaluates the expression inside the directive. If the expression is true, the element is rendered. If it's false, Vue completely removes the element from the DOM. To demonstrate this, let's add a button that toggles the value of our reactive variable. Now let's see what happens when we toggle the value. As you can see, when is logged in is true, the paragraph is rendered. When it becomes false, Vue removes it from the DOM entirely. Often we want to show an alternative element when the condition is false. That's where velse comes in. But keep in mind that velse must immediately follow a vif. Vue now automatically renders one branch or the other. So far, we've only handled two possible outcomes. But what if our application needs to handle multiple conditions? Let's replace this example with something a little more realistic. In many applications, users can have different roles. Instead of checking just one condition, we can check multiple conditions using velsif. Vue evaluates each condition in order until one of them matches. Now let's add a few buttons so we can switch between the different roles. When I select admin, the first condition matches, so Vue renders the admin panel. Switching to user makes the second condition match, so the user dashboard is displayed instead. And when neither of the previous conditions is true, Vue falls back to the velse branch and displays guest access. So far, we've been using vif together with velsif and velse to conditionally render different elements. But Vue also provides another directive for conditional rendering, vshow. At first glance, vshow looks very similar to vif, but internally it behaves differently. Let's see what I mean. When the value is true, the element becomes visible. When it's false, the element is simply hidden. If we inspect the DOM, we can see the key difference. With vShow, the element always remains in the DOM. View simply changes its CSS display property instead of removing the element. The element always exists. It's only hidden from view. So, which one should you use? As a general rule, use vIf when the condition doesn't change very often. Since view creates and destroys the element, it's a good choice when updates are infrequent. On the other hand, use vShow when you need to toggle an element's visibility frequently. Because the element always stays in the DOM, showing and hiding it is much faster. A simple rule to remember is this: if the condition changes rarely, use vIf. If it changes frequently, use vShow. Now that you know when to use these directives, let's look at a practical example. Imagine we're fetching data from an API. While the request is in progress, we display a loading indicator. If something goes wrong, we show an error message. Otherwise, we render the loaded content. This pattern is extremely common in modern web applications. Vue's conditional directives make these scenarios easy to read, maintain, and scale as your application grows. Today, we learned how Vue renders content conditionally. We covered vIf, vElse, vElseIf, and vShow. You also learned when to use each directive based on performance, and how often your application state changes. With these directives, you can build dynamic and responsive user interfaces with clean and maintainable code. In the next episode, we'll build on everything we've learned so far by rendering collections of data using v4. You'll learn how to display lists dynamically, work with array items, and build reusable user interfaces more efficiently. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.